What's good, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Stage, where I, Drift, get to talk to everyone and anyone that is inside the esports or fighting game community industry. I find people to talk to. I try to understand how they got to where they are and how you guys might be able to learn from their lessons so that you guys may be able to join in the industry and get yourselves a job or something similar. This is all for personal gain. These are all friends of mine, or try to be. And this week we have the most wonderful Flo Sama. Flo, how you doing, man?
All good, thanks.
Good.
Thanks for the advice, Drift. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. Hi, everyone.
Good. I'm glad. It's like I was just before we started recording, just before we came on, I was checking when I first met you. It was 2019. That was my very first mix-up when you were still running it. And we'll go into a bit of detail about you and the mix-up. And everything that you've been doing so far since 2019 till now, because you have moved on into a spectacular role at a very prestigious company. But for those that don't know you, Flo, who are you and what do you do?
So introduction, I guess. So my name is Flo. I'm mostly known in the community as Flo Sama. I'm 42 now. I started liking and getting into fighting games 17 years ago, more or less. And I was not a very good competitive player. So at some extent, I got into TOing around 2011, I would say.
Okay.
And shortly after that, late 2012, we created with a couple of friends, Lados in Lyon, which is a non-profit FGC structure. And we've been, doing a lot of stuff for the community in Lyon around many fighting games. And that went on for more or less 10 years. And then I moved into a more professional position at Bandai Namco as the esports manager. So, yeah, I'm very community-oriented, I would say. And that's what I enjoy the most in life, is just being close to the community and the lovely people in the fighting game scene. That's it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And there's a few things there. The big bombshell there is, yes, you are Mr. Esports Manager for Bandai Namco, but that's the end goal. That's where you are now at after 10, 20 years of being in the fighting game community. You started in Lyon and creating Lados, which are an amazing group of people. They are still running. You are still technically part of them, I guess. But they run VSB, Vampire Savior Battle. They run the Mix-Up, which is an amazing event in Lyon. Happens nearly every year, COVID notwithstanding, and lockdown notwithstanding. But that is an amazing event in Lyon. Happening this year in June, July. I can't remember. My calendar's all over the place right now. But Lados, which I only recently found out the whole meaning behind Lados, was that it is in French, the dose. So you want to hit that dose of fighting games and getting, not to say it's a drug, but basically saying, you're getting that hit of adrenaline, getting that fighting game fix that you need.
Exactly. Actually, we use it as a verb when we want to play fighting games. So you're telling to one of your friends, tu veux doser, meaning do you want to dose? And it means you want to play fighting games.
Okay. So what was the French again?
Tu veux doser.
Tu veux doser.
Doser.
Yeah. Okay.
We use it as a word, and Lados was like kind of, that's the place kind of where if you want to play fighting games, you got to be at.
Okay. So I'll listen back on this episode just to brush up on my French, because my French is horrible, as you already know, Flo. Anytime I come over and I speak to you guys, my French vocabulary is the most minimal, worse than a 2-year-old. So
it's an awful language. You don't want to learn it. It's too complicated, bro.
I'm learning Spanish at the moment. I'm on nearly 2,000 days on Duolingo streak. So I still can't speak it, so don't worry about it. But yeah, so you started, like I said, 10, 20 years ago with a bunch of friends creating Lados. And then, what happened there? You created Lados. Which event came first? VSB, the ranking battles, the mix-up? Like I said, at the start of this call, yeah.
Well, it kind of grew very organically.
Good.
Before Lados, there was some other events back in 2011 and 2010 that I worked on that were the European Street Battle. It was an event that was only run by Game Spirit, which is a video game shop and arcade center in Lyon. And that's where I started chewing a bit, just helping around. And it was not like planned. It was just, you need some help. I'm around. I'll just help. And it's at that time that I met a lot of people in the community. I played fighting game alone on, what was it? It wasn't 5K at that time. The other name that now is a good rollback netcode. Gosh, I'm 42. I'm losing my memory. GGPO.
Yeah.
So I've been playing Garu Mark of the Wolf.
Oh, okay.
On GGPO for like 2 years in my room alone, kind of.
Yeah.
And then I started Street Fighter 4 and met the community through Street Fighter 4, actually. And then following that, work on a couple of events. And in 2012, kind of late, we were like, oh my gosh, there's not much local activation in Lyon. We should do something. So I started speaking with a couple of people. And in France, you can create something that looks like a company, that has the benefit of a company. Like you can have a bank account. So you can run event and stuff, but you're not allowed to make profit. Okay. Any amount of money that you gain is just injected into the organization itself.
Okay.
But it's an easy way to start. So that's what we did with a couple of friends. So we started to grow very organically. The first couple of events we run was mostly for the people living in Lyon. It was very, very local. Then after a year, because the quality of the event were good, you start getting people from other towns nearby, like Grenoble or Saint-Etienne, for example. And year after year, we thought like, this is getting fun. Queuing is fun. Let's try to do something else and grow a bigger project. So the first big project we did was kind of a national size event on USF4 actually.
Yeah,
it was the first European tournament on USF4 because the game was just out. It was in 2014.
Yeah,
and it was just all the French community plus Ryan Hart.
Of course.
Yeah, so we wanted to have one guest, one good European guest, and Ryan Hart came. Shout out to him. So that was our first kind of big experience at running something else than a local, even if it was in the same place and it just looked like a local X, I would say.
Yeah.
And following that, I really got into liking what we were doing, and I told the team, we need to grow bigger, and that's what we did. And I remember them laughing, but I told them, I think CPT was just starting at that time, and I told the whole team, you know what? One day we're gonna build an event and it's gonna be CPT premier event, and everyone laughed at me.
Really?
And I was like, anyway, just you wait. So that was 2014. The name of that event at that time was SGB, Street Grand Battle.
Yes.
So that was the first kind of license we built outside of the ranking. And then following year, through KX, we got introduced to a streaming platform known at that time as Hitbox. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
I think they were based in Korea, if I do remember well.
Yeah.
Or was it? Yeah, I think it was Korea. And they were looking into fighting games. Everyone was on Twitch at that time, and they wanted us to run an event, and they would provide the necessary monetary support for a nice cash prize at that time.
Nice.
And for international broadcasting team. And at that time, it was Ryan Hart, after speaking to him, that introduced me to the Dentons.
The twins. The dragons.
Exactly. That's how I met them again. Thanks, Ryan Hart.
Shouts to Ryan.
So we built that event, and actually we made an Astro trailer that made some noise.
Yes.
And we tried to get as many international players we could on board. We had one particular strategy that we placed our event 1 week prior to DreamHack Winter. That was a CPT premiere at that time.
Yes.
So the goal for us was telling, hey, come to Lyon, we have a decent cash price, and then you can just fly to Sweden and you can do 2 events in more or less 10 days. So that was the goal. And we got a lot of people actually. What's his name again? That's Brazilian Abel.
Brazilian. Not Juicebox.
I can't remember his name.
No, you're
I'm getting old.
No, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
We got a lot of balls. We're supposed to get Kichiko Chicken, Santa Ruman as well.
Yeah.
K-Brad was supposed to come, Shen as well.
Yeah.
Human Bomb. The whole European scene was here. And unfortunately, like 1 or 2 weeks prior to the event, there was some terrorist attack in Paris.
Yes.
So some international players did backdash because of that, which I fully understand.
Of course.
But still, we got a pretty nice amount of international players coming around. And especially one late registration that I was really happy with, Gamaby. That was pretty rock solid at that time with his add-on, if you do remember well.
Yes.
And it was a good event, and I think it set the base of what we wanted to do. And from there, we wanted to build SGB 2016.
Yeah.
And due to some complication linked to the venue that we were going to use and linked to optic fiber for the stream, we had to pull back to 2017. 2017 come around, we start the project again, and one day I got a mail from someone at Twitch.
Oh.
And they asked us to sign an NDA and get on a call. I'm like, ooh, what it is about? And boom, Tekken World was around.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, so we start discussing, and we got integrated into the tour. I think we got lucky there, to be honest, because there was some other TOs that used to know Tekken and the community of Tekken way better than us at that time, but they were not active on the TOing scene, so there was no event and stuff.
Sure.
We were the first event, kind of major in France, even if I wouldn't call us a major at that time, that had Tekken on the list. And we had from that year, we got some light on us because it was the first year that the mix-up was integrated into the CPT as a ranking event.
Yeah.
So we were on the list.
Yeah.
So they were looking at all the CPT event, I guess. They noticed we would also run Tekken 7, so that's how we got it.
Yeah. Okay, so that raises a good question. I want to pause you there for a second, Flo, because you've been speaking.
Yeah, I'm speaking too much.
No, you're speaking a lot, which is amazing. This is the whole point of a podcast. But to give you a break, I will interject here and ask you a slightly different question before we continue with the timeline. You mentioned that you don't think that you guys were a major at that point. So a question I always like to ask, especially event organizers, TOs, and especially within fighting games, what do you class as a major versus something that was like SGB, a regional, before you flew in international players? I don't want to lead the question, but yeah, what do you class as a major tournament?
It's a difficult question because I think the answer depends on your location as well.
Okay.
Obviously, if you think about a major in the North American scene, and you think about a major in the European scene or in Asia, you're going to get a different definition, in my opinion. So when it comes to Europe, because that's where I work the most, I think for me a major needs to be something that is considered by people as a major. So it's about the feeling you're putting into people's art more than anything.
Okay.
You can work as much as you want. At the end of the day, if your event is not successful in people's mind, they will not call it a major.
Okay.
Then, how do you get your event to be successful, and how do you get people to call it a major? I think it has a lot to do on what flavor you want to give to your event. Any event out there has a different flavor, has a different aroma. If you think about UFA, if you think about the mix-up, if you think about VSF, if you think about crossover or any active tournament nowadays in Europe, it will bring a very different feeling to your mind, actually.
Yeah.
So as a TO, you need to ask yourself, what do I want? What's the feeling I want to get into people's heart?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be a copy-paste of another event.
No.
You want to be your own event.
Yeah.
So I think that's the first step. Once you get that, and you know what your event needs to be, and you strive for it, you're in a position where as long as you're running solid game, you got good attendees, a couple of international, you're good to go. So it's more about, again, how people will react to your event than what does it need to be a major. I don't think there's any definition. It's really what's in people's heart, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, fair. That makes sense. So, and now you may continue your timeline. So
yeah,
that's fine. No,
so, where was that? So Mix Up 2017. So we were reached by Twitch, and at that time we were still known as SGB, Street Ground Battle.
Yes,
and they were like, lads, if you get in Tekken World Tour, you need to change your name. But not like this. Like that might sound pretty rough. They were like, are you sure you want to keep this name? It's fine, but
okay.
Yeah. So it was not too much pressure. And come to think about it, it was the first year that we went multiple game as well. We were very Street Fighter oriented for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think that has to do with learning the process of building an event. And that's something I do recommend to people that wants to get into TOing. Don't try to go too big first. Learn. You need to fall down, make some mistake, then you get up, and you do better. And I think it's easier to get all the key learning if your couple of first project for the first couple of years are based on the one game you really love. Again, it's not mandatory to do so. It's just how I felt was the most convenient for me and the team. But yeah, I think learning all the bases with one game before expanding to multiple game events is kind of wise. And so we thought about a new name, and we eventually found the Mix-Up, which is good because it was fighting game vocabulary.
Yes,
we were mixing communities from different games together. We were mixing games, so at the end of the day, it made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So from there, we got into Tekken World Tour as a master. Actually, I had to fight for it.
Really?
Not many people know that, but first year we were supposed to be a challenger.
Oh. Okay.
And I fight for it. I went to Bandai Namco time in Europe for the very first time, and I was like, "You give me a master," and it worked.
I mean, you're a very imposing man in person, Flo. For those that have never met or seen Flo, you are a very tall person, and you can be very imposing just by height alone. So I can believe you went up to their offices and go, "Give us masters." But sorry, continue.
Big teddy bear,
You are a big teddy bear, but you are still tall and imposing if people don't know you.
And then so the Mix-Up carried on growing, and I think the biggest evolution we got was in 2019, where we did get that CPT premier spot. I told my team we would get in 2014, so 5 years after. And from there we had around, I think, 650 players, I would say.
I think so.
Across every game. And that's the first year when I thought, okay, I wanted to establish a major event in Lyon. And I think it's the first year where I considered myself, I considered the Mix-Up being a true European major event at that time.
Yeah. So that was 2018, 2019 then, you're saying?
Yeah, that was the 2019 edition. 2018 and 2017 were pretty solid as well.
Yeah.
But when you set some objective, some goals,
yes,
and you do reach them at some extent, it feels great. It feels great, and I'm glad that Capcom trusted us that particular year. It was really heartwarming as a TO to be in a situation where we worked a lot, and at the end of the day, all the goals that we wanted to get, they align.
Yeah, your hard work
and then
paid off.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a very, very, very good feeling, to be honest.
Good.
And then COVID came around. Yeah. which was, I'll be honest, like 2020, we were supposed to, I don't know, I can't remember what we were supposed to be on the CPT part. My memory is very vague in that regard.
Same.
Because the new tour around and that I was pretty hyped to get on board was for Soul Calibur.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
If you do remember.
I do remember that one, yeah.
and there was for Soul Calibur the naming for Master Event was Master Edge.
Yes. Oh, was it?
Yes.
Oh, wow. No,
and there was only 3 tournaments around the world that got to be Master Edge. One in Asia, one in America, and one in Europe. If I remember correctly, and I might need to search on internet
sure
to find that image again, but if I remember correctly, the one for Asia was Evo Japan.
Makes sense.
The one for NA was Combo Breaker.
Oh, okay.
And the one in Europe was the mix-up. So there was this flyer that was out a couple of weeks prior to COVID mess.
Yeah.
Where you had like Combo Breaker logo, Evo Japan logo, and between those logos, the mix-up. And I was like, hell yes! I was so proud of myself, to be honest. I was very, very, very happy about it. And yeah, then unfortunately COVID, and we never had the Soul Calibur World Tour.
No. COVID,
as you know.
COVID killed a lot of events, a lot of games, a lot of tours. Just everything got messed up in those 4 or 5 years of pandemicness. Not to say we're out of it, but yeah, that time was a very dark time for a lot of people and a lot of things.
I managed to cope that period from a fighting game perspective thanks to Grand Blue, actually. So that game came out at the worst period with not very good netcode.
Honestly.
But the French community was just so healthy, man.
Yeah?
It was, I mean, we were on Discord, running online project, chatting about the game, enjoying ourselves. Everyone was just lovely.
Oh, man.
No one was toxic. It was the best time ever. I had time with my family every day.
Yeah.
We were living in a flat, but we had access to a kind of community garden where family will take turns.
Yeah.
So we could go out and do a picnic in the sunshine for like 1 hour or 2 before another family would take the spot.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, even if it was not a pleasant time, I would say, I managed to find some peace between time with my family and time with the Grand Blue family.
No, that's the important part, right? Being whilst the world was forced to be put on pause, you take that pause how you want. Some people need to keep going, but for some people like yourself, Flo, are able to take a step back and go, like, I can spend time with my family. I have the fortunate capabilities of having the space, being able to touch grass, being able to spend time with everyone around me that are close to me, and then also having the internet available to you to be able to talk to friends online over Discord, to play fighting games like Grand Blue. And like you said, that came out at the worst possible time with not the worst possible netcode, but it was pretty dire.
It was pretty bad. I remember I was doing a couple of online tournaments, and at some point I just stopped the European one and just focused on the French tournament. It was...
Makes sense.
You always get messed up by someone with a very laggy connection at some extent. It was not enjoyable.
Makes you angry, and through no fault of anyone but the internet.
No. I think big shout out to Arc System Work because that's once Guilty Gear Strive was released with their Black Magic netcode.
Oh yes,
that everyone was like, oh Jesus, and you had to get a good netcode in your fighting game after, or people will just massively complain.
Yes.
So I think it's a nice move from Arc System Work that they did work a lot on that.
Yeah, they listened, and a lot of publishers do, a lot of developers do. So yeah, Guilty Gear came out. They learned from Grand Blue was Cygames, not Arc System Works, right?
It's created by Arc System Work. They're the studio that developed it.
That was it.
But it's being published by Cygames. It's their IP, it's their license.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, not Bandai, you are Bandai. Arc System Works, listened, figured out, like, in this period of time, if you release a game without rollback, without good netcode, it wasn't going to survive. You can't go online. So it's understandable and really good.
Yeah. And I think they reworked on the game. Like, originally, if I remember well from what I read, Guilty Gear Strive was supposed to not have it.
Yes.
It was a delayed netcode.
It was.
Yeah. And then they worked again on it, which must have been pretty demanding, but thanks to them.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys for listening and understanding the situation the world was put in terms of fighting games and netcode.
Right.
So
from there, I think the only project I've run prior to my position at Bandai Namco was actually online for Grand Blue, which was Paradise Lost.
Okay.
It was a kind of ranking season on Grand Blue, but just for the French community.
Sure.
That was my little fun project at that moment, like the final one, because we were like making fun project, like weekly based kind of event to just play with the people. And I thought, you know what, let's do something else. Let's make a stream. Let's create some overlay. Let's create have an artistic direction around the game and the project itself. So I spent a lot of time on Photoshop and After Effects to create all the package for everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was my last project before moving to Bandai Namco in 2021. And from there, I stopped my position at Lados.
Of course.
Because I didn't want to be in a situation where I could get conflict between what I do for a non-profit organization and for a corporation.
Yes.
I'll be honest, because it's a non-profit organization, I don't think it's too much of an issue, but I'm pretty sure that if I did not do so, I would be in a situation where people will just point finger at me and say, hey, look, that man is esport manager at Bandai Namco and he's running that event. There's a problem.
Yeah.
So I had to step down, unfortunately. The mix-up is a baby for me. It's something I've taken care for a couple of years, and I saw that event growing and growing. But I knew as well that the people I would leave the project with are good people and equally passionate as I am. Yeah. So I was not fearing much. It was difficult the first year to just let it go. Yeah. But eventually it became all fine.
Yeah. And shout outs to the guys now running the mix up. W, Keep,
yeah, they're the two main guys.
Yeah, those two guys. There's so many. There's so many.
There's a whole team. There's a bloody army.
There is a whole army there, and I love seeing these guys every year. Whenever I get to come over to the mix up, and also see you, Flo. But even when you're not in the working capacity for the mix up or helping out, it's just good to see friends in the community every year. Like you guys are in a different country, it's a bit difficult to see you on a week. So whenever I get a chance to come over and say hi, I love to do it, and I love to see you guys. So yeah, shout outs to the Mix Up crew, shout outs to Lados, Flo, yourself as well.
And to conclude that part on the timeline and events, I want to say that I'm deeply thankful for all the people that worked alongside me on those events, because at the end of the day, the most pleasant part is not the success your event will get or the event itself. It's the path to those events with the people you truly love. And there's so many of them, and I can only thank everyone. A special shout out maybe to Q's.
Yes, Q's.
Because from the early days in the process, Q's has been one key asset in the Lados team, and we've been working together as a team during the SGB years so much, and it has been such a pleasure to get to know that man and work alongside him. There's many other guys that's the same, like Zargat as well. It's the same. I mean, all the base people that created Lados, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's about the people you do work with and the path that you create to get to a certain point that is enjoyable.
Yes,
in my opinion.
If you don't enjoy it, why?
Yeah, exactly.
To an extent. But yeah, no, those guys I got, Q's, Keep, W, like all these guys, amazing, lovely. Any chance I can work with them, I will happily say yes. Because again, those guys are amazing and so much fun. You've kind of touched upon this already, but I want to ask you this just so we have a direct answer. What do you think you are personally most known for in your projects, excluding Bandai Namco? Like, if people know you from Bandai Namco, that's your present right now. But from your past, like with all the events you've done, all the projects you've made, creating Lados, like what do you think you are most known for?
Most likely it's the mix-up, because that's the event that got the most international coverage, I would say.
Fair. That makes sense. I just want to make sure. And speaking of the mix-up, and also SGB, like there is one amazing trailer you guys created. I think it was like 2016, 2017, potentially. That was on YouTube that did the rounds for Street Fighter, Ultra Street Fighter 4. I'm going to find it. It's going to be linked in the description below. So guys, go click on that link and watch it if I can find it, because it is an amazing piece of work.
It's the one with the car, right?
Potentially. I think it might have been, was it in Paris? It looked like Paris to me.
No, it was in your. So
okay.
It was made by Squatchun Magician. Big shout out to him. Yeah. That trailer was good. It was not only good, it was very different.
Yes.
From what you could see at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was it was what worked. It's unseen as a fighting game trailer. It was I wouldn't say risk, but yeah, it was different. So people enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's why I enjoyed it, because it was so different. And then obviously coming now into the more recent years, the guys are sometimes doing trailers for VSB, Vampire Savior Battle, and those trailers are just so much fun and amazing. So again, shout out to the guys making those.
They are hilarious indeed.
Yeah. Everyone dressing up, everyone running around Leon. I'm sure they get some funny looks, but yeah. You said this word earlier, success. How do you, and we've already spoken about defining a major. How do you define success? Well, in your projects, like, how do you define success?
I don't know how to define it, to be honest.
Okay.
Because I think there's two types of people in our world. There's people that want to be successful and they want to bring the light on themselves. And they're very oriented about, I want to be successful and I want people to recognize me for what I am or who I am.
Yeah.
And then there's other people that just want to work on something good, and the success of their project will bring that light on them. I'm more this kind of person. I'm not looking for success. I don't want to be in a situation where people say, oh, that's Rosama and he's known for that and that. I rather have the light be shine on the project we made. That's the most interesting in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would define media like this.
Okay. In that case, I will twist that question around slightly. How do you and your team, not just for the mix-up, but in your professional life as well, in corporate life, how do you strive for success?
I tend to set goals. That's what you want to do. You want to do short-term goals and medium-term goals. That's the most convenient. And I tend to work any project on a 3 years basis.
Okay.
You start a project and you say in 3 years, I want to be there. And to get there, this is goals for year 1, year 2, year 3. So you need to define where you're going. Once you define where you're going, you understand what you have to work on. That's the best strategy. If you're thinking, oh, I'm just going to work on that and we'll see where it goes, it might work. But if you're not planning strategically ahead, you'll be in a situation where your way of thinking and working on the project might not be efficient, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. That does make sense. Cool.
Maybe it was not your question, sorry.
No, that is a perfectly fine answer. That is, that works. And I was trying to think of a related question of how you managed to do that. For example, like with the example you gave with the Capcom Pro Tour, Street Fighter 4, and the mix-up, took you, I say it took you 5 years, but it didn't take you 5 years. It just was the case of what happened. Like, how did you push the mix-up whilst you were still with Lados did you push the team to focus mainly on Street Fighter 4 so that the Pro Tour would come knocking for you?
Not necessarily. I think I did some stuff. So to get it, like it's not just pure luck. There is a part of luck,
of course.
And I'll speak about it shortly.
Yeah,
but not only. So what I did is, first of all, we learned through Street Fighter. So it was a good base goal. You start with Street Fighter. There's something going on Street Fighter. There's an international league starting with Capcom.
Yeah.
Back in 2013, there was this kind of raw version that was more global in 2014, if I do remember correctly. Maybe I'm 1 year off, but it's more
around there.
like it.
Yeah.
So you see it and you're like, okay, that looks fun. I want to be part of it. That's my long midterm objective, let's say. And then what do you need to do to get there? First, you need to learn how to run an event. That's the basic. You know how to run locals. What do you need to do to run a bigger event? So you learn from there, and you do a couple of tournaments every year, and you extend your network.
Yes.
You meet with an international broadcasting team, like I told you, the twin brother earlier on. You speak with more and more players, and players get to know you. You welcome them in Lyon. They have a good time. They will remember it was a good event. They will want to come back, most likely. So it has a lot to do with how you interact with people as well.
Yes.
And you do build a network. And I went to Capcom UK back in 2016 with W. I think it was Jan or Feb. There was a bye-bye USF4 tournament at Capcom HQ in London. And it was run by the twin. And at that time, I met Matthew Edwards at Capcom Europe, that is now brand manager, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Shout out to him.
Yeah, man.
And I asked to speak with the man. Just 5 minutes, like at the end of day one, if I do remember correctly. And I didn't tell him, give me a spot in Capcom Pro Tour. I did not tell him that. I told him, one day you're going to give us a spot, and one day we will be premier event. And I'm not asking you for it. I'm asking you to watch us work. That's all I did.
Yeah.
And I think it was a good idea, because you're not telling people, please give me something. You're telling people, look at us.
Yeah.
And if you feel like you can trust us, we'll happily work with you guys. That's about it.
Yeah.
So setting all those different steps, building your network, getting your connection and stuff, will get you somewhere eventually. And half of it is luck as well, because, some other events were on the map as well. Why did the mix-up got chosen in 2019 more than another one? I will not comment, but it's not just your work. You're in a position sometimes where, yes, there's a part of luck, and you need to welcome luck in your daily work.
Yes.
But when you get lucky, you need to understand that. So you're not like getting your head getting big like a melon or whatnot.
Yes.
You need to understand it was luck, and you need to take that advantage, work. So the following year, it's not luck anymore.
Yes. Yeah. And one thing I like to say is that, and never to demean anyone where luck is part of the case. Luck is always part of the case. It's hard work at the right time.
There's so many stuff you do not control.
Exactly.
That will happen to you, bad or wrong. I mean, bad or wrong or right. Sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
And when you got some good luck and not some bad luck, you need to make sure that you do take a huge advantage out of it.
Yes. Yeah, you can always work harder. You can always do more. But sometimes you just need a little bit of a spark and a spark of luck. And you have to then take full opportunity whilst you have that chance. Otherwise, it goes by and you miss it. So
exactly,
that's how the mix-up became a Capcom Street Fighter Premier event on the Capcom Pro Tour, which was amazing. For the last few years, you guys, where possible, where Capcom Pro Tour had offline events, the mix-up has always been on radar. Like, it's always been there alongside other big events, CEO, Combo Breaker, UFA, Evo Japan, Evo, all the big names you can imagine. The mix-up is now part of there, and so that says a lot to the legacy of the team, and not just yourself, Flo. And I want to make sure, we make clear that, whilst you helped create Lados and the mix-up, you have unfortunately had to step away due to your professional life.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So, no, shout outs to those guys, shout outs to Mix Up, shout outs to you, Flo, for helping create such a wonderful event. The Mix Up is so great. Guys, if you ever get a chance, please consider going. Lyon is a lovely city. The summer is wonderful there. It's a little bit warm, so dress accordingly and shower. But yeah, the Mix Up event, wonderful, great, lovely, go. And I think we've already answered this question as well. But again, I want to make sure and ask you, what is the most successful thing you've achieved? And this time I'm going to broaden it to past and present. So from creating Lados to now being esports manager at Bandai Namco. Like, what's the most successful thing you've achieved?
I don't know if I'll speak about success, but more about best memory, I would say.
Best
more than anything.
Yeah.
So I think one of my best memory as a TO was SGB 2015. SGB 2015, 2K15, we called it at that time, was an event that was looking like a major due to the fact that we had so many international players supposed to come up. Again, some of them canceled because of the Paris attack.
Yeah,
it is what it is, and at some extent, on paper it was wonderful, but in reality, I think 80% of the equipment we had for that event, for the stream and outside of consoles and screens, were bought on Amazon to be sent back a week after because we had no budget.
Of course.
A lot of stuff were just, people lending some material, and everything was really run like a home tournament. And despite all of that, it was a good success, and the good memory I have around it, outside of the fact that we worked a lot with not much to do something good, was when Gamerby came around, because that man was, making a lot of damage at that time. It was so strong.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, cool. The strategy worked. We put our event with a nice cash price right before a CPT event.
Yeah.
Bruce, Gamerby is coming to our event, and then most likely after that he's going to go to Sweden. Gamerby wins the whole tournament.
Yep.
And so Sunday night, everyone's leaving. I'm saying bye-bye to Gamerby, and I'm wishing him good luck for the CPT premiere event in Sweden. And he looked at me and he said, I'm not going.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, so he did not come in Europe for CPT.
Oh.
He saw our event, he saw all the marketing we did around it, and he just came for SGB.
Wow.
And just thinking about that memory again, I'm nearly half crying. That was one of the best time of my life. I'm like, oh, we worked a lot.
Yes.
And we had to think about strategy to get people coming from very far away and trying to get international players.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, it worked so well that the primary strategy around it, being glued to a CPT event, was not needed for Gamerby. And it felt great. So I think that, for me and the team at that time, it was one of the best achievements.
Yeah. Shout out to Bruce, Gamerby, holding it down, like putting Taiwan on the map. Yeah. And having... Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go on.
No, go on. No, I was going to say, there's nothing. Go.
I was, and for present there, so most recent, I guess that will be the European Tekken Cup.
Yes.
That's something I wanted to create when I arrived at Bandai Namco, Europe, and I was not 100% confident I could get it because, it's resources, and we were starting the project at the end of life of Tekken 7 as well.
Yeah.
So the odds were kind of against me, I would say, but we managed to build it, and since we started that program, we got some nice evolution. around it.
Yes.
And now I know that the community loves it. I know that the people internally at Bandai Namco, especially in Japan, do trust me to run that event. So again, I got the trust from people I needed to get the trust from in order for this product to carry on. So yeah, I'm pretty happy about it, and I hope we can still support the community for a long time with that.
Fingers crossed for you, and hopefully ETC continues to grow. Whenever I manage to catch the broadcasts, it's amazing. Like the high level play, as always, is wonderful, and giving players a chance to continue playing outside of your normal major events. It's just good practice and a good watch, and brings light to the community as a whole. And shouts to Spag, Bubsy, everyone that's on the commentary desk, everyone that's on the production teams, and every event that holds ETC qualifiers. Like, it's all wonderful. And hopefully I'll be able to catch ETC offline soon, when it comes back, hopefully this year. And that says a lot to me about myself of not being on top of announcements if it has been announced yet. And
No.
I'm not fishing for any information then.
We just finished the
you guys have just finished up
the third season, and yeah, just wait.
Yeah, I'm waiting with bated breath, because Tekken is always a good fun to watch. I've already asked you about what you class as major, so we can skip that question because we've already discussed it to length. I'm now going to focus more on your role at Bandai Namco where possible.
Mm-hmm.
What is an esports manager? Break it down for me, Flo, if you can.
It's a project manager.
Okay.
That's about it. And actually, esports manager, depending on the structure you'll be working with, it's gonna be a totally different job. If you're an esports manager and you're working for an esports team or for an esports event or for a publisher, the types of mission and key tasks you'll have to do will be very, very, very different.
Okay.
So when it comes to a publisher, I think it's about overviewing any esports program you have going on and making sure that everything is aligned and you have the good people working on this and this and this and this and this. You keep the quality up everywhere. And outside of that, it also has to do with controlling what other people will do with the IP you own. I'm not only working on stuff we do. I need to make sure that if there's some other people that wants to use one of our game and have a competitive project around it, it's not going to be something that will actively damage the IP itself or the community, I would say.
It makes perfect sense. And if now that you class it, or you have the umbrella of a project manager overall, on top of being an esports manager, that does bring clarity to me, at least, of what an esports manager can and may do. Are you able to share with us, or me at least, the challenges of being the esports manager for Bandai Namco?
I think from a professional perspective, one of the biggest challenge is to keep community best interest in mind at all time, despite working in a corporate environment.
Sure.
Luckily, I do believe that Bandai Namco is pretty community oriented. If I have to look at some other companies, I would say.
Sure.
So it's not too difficult, but it's still a challenge.
Yes.
When you work for a big corporation, I mean, Bandai Namco is the second biggest game editor, I think, in Japan, and maybe seventh in the world. Those numbers are like for a couple of years ago, so maybe might not be too accurate right now. But it's it's a pretty group. It's a pretty huge group actually. So you need to understand how a big corporation works. It has there's some politics into it and stuff,
of course.
But making sure that you can still strive for the community where you come from in a corporate environment is a huge challenge. Then, I mean, personal challenge, because you have to understand again, and I do believe Bandai Namco is that process a lot. Then, from a personal standpoint, I think my biggest challenge is just rest and take vacation, bro.
Then yes, you are a very busy man.
But not just that. I'm lucky enough to be trusted in my work. Meaning that there's people above me for sure, but there's no one micromanaging me to a standpoint where I feel like I don't have freedom. I have full freedom at my job.
Yeah.
And I create my own job. When I started my position at Bandai Namco Europe, I was the first ever esports manager. There was someone else before me doing the job, partially.
Sure.
But that man had another job already that was linked to product management, brand management, for example.
Yeah.
So, days are only 24 hours, and at some extent, you can't do everything. So me getting a full-time job just for esports management was like, okay, where do we go? What am I doing? And I created my own role and own job, I would say.
Okay.
Not out of thin air, because project already existed.
Yes.
But defining process and how to work on a couple of stuff across Europe and globally with the team in Japan and America. It was pretty a big challenge. And then you're like, okay, I love what I'm doing, and I got the job because I'm passionate about it. Fighting games, running event, TOing, working on project with Lados was a hobby. It was not for the money. That's
not for profit.
Yeah. Now I'm in a situation where I get paid. It's my work, and it's still a fucking hobby. Oh, I said a bad word. I promised myself I would not swear in this podcast, and I did. I have one problem. I do swear a lot in English.
That's perfectly fine. That was the first time I think you've sworn on in this recording. Yeah. So do not worry.
It was be the only one.
That must be okay. That's your challenge.
I do apologize, everyone. So yeah, it's still a hobby, and drawing the line between work and rest is difficult because since I've started my position at Bandai Namco, and I'm still saying this until this day, and it's nearly been 4 years now, I never worked a single day at Bandai Namco. Never. It's pure fun, and that's it. So, getting time for yourself to rest sometimes is a bit difficult because you just love what you're doing because it's your hobby. So when do you end work? I'm getting better at this.
Good.
But the first couple of years was kind of a huge challenge for me to just, chill. This is the weekend. Don't work on weekend. Don't work too late. Don't get up too early. It was a challenge. It was a challenge. And I have to say that actually that it's not a company, how can I say? It's not a company thing of, working too much and stuff.
Yeah.
I had so many people in the company that were worrying about me because
and it was a company policy to work so long. It was everyone was concerned of you pushing yourself because you were having so much fun working.
Exactly. And so thanks for Bandai Namco Europe to take care of me at that time because some people made me realize I need to chill a bit, to be honest.
The epitome of if you enjoy what you do, you never work a day in your life. Like that is how you view your job, and that's amazing. Honestly, that is a dream a lot of people have. One that I have. Slowly getting there, but we're working towards it. And one thing you also mentioned there, like the person before you was somewhat of an esports manager, brand manager, having to do everything, and you created you successfully got hired by Bandai Namco, became the esports manager, defined your own role, but there is, like you said, only 24 hours in a day. At some point, you do have to delegate and have someone help you create or manage the brand, the IP, your workload. And luckily, happily met, I believe, I'm really bad with names if I've only met them once or twice, Wesley. Is it Wesley?
Yeah, it is. I call him Wheezy.
Oh, bless. Shout out to Wesley. You've hired someone to help you on being esports manager, like, not to ever diminish anyone in their role, and not to put too fine of a point on this. But what do you look for, Flo, when you build a team, and not just Wesley, but for the DOS, for the Mix-Up, for SGB? Like when you want to build a team, what do you look for?
When it comes to Lados, I think the team got pretty lucky from the very beginning.
Okay.
When you build a fighting game structure and you need to have people work around you, you need to be in a situation where you have a lot of people that are very knowledgeable about different stuff. If you're in a situation where it's stuff and you're knowledgeable and you have skills around this stuff and this stuff and this stuff, and the people working with you are just a copy-paste of you, it's not going to work.
Right.
It's not going to work. You need to have a lot of diversity in the team.
Yeah.
And luckily, again, we did not have to search for that when we created Lados. We had a lot of people that were very competent and were skilled at different stuff.
Yeah.
We had Q's that was graphic designer and web designer. We had a lot of people such as Zagat, for example, that were very knowledgeable about arcade system. We had some other people like Kenono that are very good at 3D printing, for example. So yeah, a lot of different people with different knowledge and skills. So at the end of the day, your team is solid because everyone has a key part.
Yes.
Then when it comes to the job at Bandai Namco, now the team in Europe at least is just me and Wesley. And I see Wesley as a young, dynamic junior guy that needs to be guided at some extent. But he has a strong knowledge about the community and especially Tekken, and is willing to work hard and learn. And he's clever, and he understands how to behave and maybe behave is not the correct word. He understands how to act and be as a person and be nice with his surrounding.
Yes.
I think that's something I really want. I'm a big teddy bear. I love everyone, and I want to be in a situation where when you work with people, you feel that love and that energy, because that's how I've been welcomed in the fighting game community.
Yes.
So having people around me that have the same kind of state of mind when it comes to human relation is pretty important.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm pretty glad I found Wesley on the way. To be honest. He's a good lad.
He's a great guy. The few interactions I've had with him, always wonderful. He's just very friendly, very helpful, and his professionalism, even when I'm not staff on an event, he is still treating me with such respect. I can only say thank you. And again, shouts to Wesley. If Bandai or Wesley yourself watch this, keep up the great work, man. Because you're a great guy, wonderful person. The next question, Flo, somewhat difficult, I'd think, but you can correct me here. How do you recommend people? Oh, actually, no. So we've already discussed how you you developed your hobby with your love of fighting games to create events, which then led you to become esports manager at Bandai Namco. And I think that is pretty much how you would get exposure to be a tournament organizer, an events director, and running events. How then what would you say to recommend to people on building exposure to becoming a project manager for Bandai Namco, to be an esports manager for Bandai Namco, or even any other company?
It's indeed a difficult question.
Because I'm pretty sure, and correct me if I'm wrong here, or if we're not allowed to talk about it, you didn't walk into Bandai Namco offices and go, hey, I've created the mix-up. This is a Tekken World Tour major event. Let me become esports manager. But I'm pretty sure that's not how it happened. You can correct me if I'm wrong. That could be what happened.
Okay. I'll answer your question, but before that, I can tell you about the process. I got tired a bit.
Okay.
I don't think it's a problem. Obviously, and again, that comes with strategic thinking. I knew that there was a Bandai Namco office in Europe, and it was based in Lyon. And at some extent, I'm like, okay, one day they might open a position, but I'm not going to think too much about it. And if it comes around, I'll try to get the job. Maybe. You never know what happens next. And Feb 2021, I woke up in the morning and I got DM from two of my friends that were working at Bandai Namco time. Shout out to Pea and Vexani. She used to work at Bandai Namco Nordics.
Yes.
Remember well. And they were like, Flo, this is your job. Just go for it. And I'm like, yes. And I've been thinking about that position for a long, long time. And I knew eventually it would be coming. And what I did is that I took that very, very seriously in the process of preparing myself for all the interview. I found a couple of YouTube tutorial to help me out, and I put myself in a position where I was applying for a job as if I was abroad in a country where all the human resources was already there, and there was no point in hiring someone that you would that would not be from that country. You would need to pay extra fee for a work visa or whatsoever.
Okay.
And I can't remember that tutorial and the guy who made it, but it did prepare me well, because it was preparing you to get the impossible job. And I took a lot of time to study what that man was saying, and I prepared the best I could for that. So at the end of the day, there was no way I was not getting that job, to be honest. That was my state of mind.
Yeah.
I prepared a hell of as much as I could.
Yes.
And I went through the whole process. From what I remember, there was a couple of hundred people trying to get the job as well.
Of course, yeah.
Those kind of positions, there's not that many.
No.
So I'm pretty sure it's normal that so many people try to get it. And yeah, at the end of the day, I got the job. I'm pretty happy, but yeah, I did prepare very hard for it.
Good. I'm glad.
And then, what would people need to do to evolve and get into a similar career? I would say, at the end of the day, there's two different ways of doing so. You need to get inside project where you can get some key learning. You can't create everything yourself, unfortunately. You can actually, but sometimes it's a bit, especially nowadays where a lot already exists in that particular field. Creating everything from scratch to get your key learning is kind of the long way. That's what I did, but I started, more than 10 years ago. 10 years ago is not now. And in 10 years, it will still be very different.
Yeah.
So get in board of some project you can work on and get some key learning. Do not hesitate to knock on some doors of project you like and saying, hey, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is what I can bring on the table, and I'd like to help out. How can I say that? Don't look for any benefit outside of key learning, I would say. If you can get paid for your work, or if you can, get more than just key learning outside of any types of job, it's the better.
Yes.
Fighting games, it's still hard to run events. The budget is always a problem. So at some extent, I think if you're willing to work on one event or one particular project, and if it's non-profit based, such as the stuff that Lados run like the mix-up, at some extent just take it. So that's the first option. You do get into project, and then you do get your experience. The second is then create everything from scratch, which is what I did with the guys from Lados.
Yeah,
it's longer, but there's more key learning in the process.
Yes.
Because when you create everything from scratch, you're learning everything, and you're making a lot of mistakes that you need to make in order to not make them afterward.
Yes.
So don't be scared and saying, oh, it's impossible. In France, we say that impossible is not a French word. Impossible n'est pas français. And I think that if you're really motivated and you want to do something within that field, just go for it. What's the worst that can happen? You fail? That's just part of life.
Yeah.
I've been failing all my life, my friend. Like I was very bad at school. And there's so many moments in my life where I did fail before I started being a bit successful at something I like. So at the end of the day, get your key learning from the project you want to run and just run it. And if one more thing is that you can't run everything by yourself. So you have to build a team. You have to trust people. So get to know people, make some friends in the community, and take it from there. And build your network.
Networking is difficult.
And I don't say this as a LinkedIn expert, for example. There's network and there's network. And I think you have to understand that when I say build your network, it means meet people, get to know them, have a friendly and healthy relation with them for them. Make sure you understand who they are and why you enjoy those people, rather than the benefit you would get from knowing them.
Yes.
So when I say build your network, it means meet people in the FGC and have fun.
Yes.
And at some extent, by making friends and getting into that huge family that is the FGC, you will meet some people that will help you along the way, and you will help them in return.
Exactly. Again, shouts to Lados, shouts to W, Keep, Q's, Zaget, you yourself, Flo. Like all of you guys have been wonderful. Like I said, I came to the Mix Up 2019 where I first met all of you guys, and since then, seeing you guys at different events, seeing you guys back at the Mix Up, seeing you guys in Lyon, like it's just a wonderful time, and it's always wonderful to see you. Whether I'm working in the event or not, it's just good to say hi and good to see you, especially when you come over to London as well, and you break out your very, very fake British accent. It makes me laugh.
I wish I had a nice British accent, to be honest.
Nah, your accent's fine. It's just great.
It could be worse.
It could be a lot worse. It could be Mancunian. Lastly, I say lastly, there's always a couple more questions, but lastly, really, what is one thing you want people to know about your role as esports manager that you may not think is common knowledge? That one thing that people should realize, should know when interacting with anyone that may have esports manager as their business title, or you as a human being.
I would say that our control over what we do is limited to the project we run. Don't assume that we have a huge power on everything that is linked to a competitive project outside of the competitive aspect, I would say.
Yes.
And I can't go too much into details, but people that will understand.
Yes. Yeah. If you know, you know, but you only control what you can control.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's so many stuff that you can't control. So, and it's, just don't blame, or don't be pissed, or don't expect stuff from people that work in a certain position.
Yes.
On stuff that they do not have control over. And I think a lot of people tend to forget that.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Indeed, even there is a lot outside of everyone's control. The world is a small place, but at the same time, it is also quite large. And especially in the company as well, a company has many different facets and many different departments. Like, you can go to one department, tell them they're rubbish, but when in actual fact, they don't control why you're not getting paid. They're not finance. They don't control the books. That's just one example. That's not what we're talking about here. We're just saying, like, we only control what we can control in our specific department.
Yeah. And my goal, I would say, as an esports manager, is to grow bigger, to get more control and stuff at some extent. But that's That's another story, and we'll speak about it in 10 years.
Yes, yeah. Like your 5-year goal, 5-year plan turning into a 10-year plan. Like we'll do a second.
Oh, I got my 10 year. I know exactly in which position and where I want to be in 10 years. Well, it's more 8 years now because that's something I've defined 2 years ago.
Fair. 8-year plan. Hopefully, maybe we'll get you back on before 8 years if this podcast is still running, and we'll see. We can do a look back on your life, Flo. Maybe at Bandai Namco, maybe not. Who knows? But Flo, thank you very much for your time.
I think I'll stay at Bandai Namco, to be honest.
Bandai's breathing a sigh of relief right there hearing that.
I've been doing a job that I hated for 12 years before my position at Bandai Namco. So I hated the job itself, but I love the people I was working with.
Yeah.
So that's why I couldn't, last 12 years in this particular job. So yeah, no, I'm not gonna quit Bandai Namco. I love too much this company. And more than anything, I love the freaking people I'm working with.
They are wonderful people.
People at the office in Europe, or people that I work on the esports side in America and Japan. I just love them so much. Again, like if I was in a situation where I would be working with people that I don't enjoy that much, I would tell you I might think about quitting. Because I think that's what's the most important when you get a job. As long as you work with people you enjoy and you love being with, you're good.
Yes.
Most likely you're good.
100%.
Even if sometimes the job is hard, and I've been in this position. But if you have a very good job, but all the people you do interact with every day are just making you miserable, or they're awful people, it's not worth it.
No.
So right now, I'm the happiest man in the world, I would say.
I'm glad to hear that. And yes, no, I completely 100% agree. It's the people you work with. And if they don't make it work, it's tough to survive. But no, Flo, thank you very much for your time. You are a very busy man, considering like your position, and being able to carve out a little bit of time to talk to me is wonderful.
My pleasure, my friend.
My pleasure, my friend. Lastly, is there anything or anyone you want to shout out? Is there anywhere people may want to reach you, if you so wish to, on social media? That's a very loaded question, considering the social media climate as such at the moment. But yeah, anything you want to shout out before we wrap it up here?
There's too many people I'd like to shout out. I already shout out to a couple, so I'm not gonna go back on that. Maybe one more person I will shout out. It's Diado, Rick, my friend. Thank you so much for your trust. That man is very wise, in my opinion, and I hear that. Yeah, he's a mentor for me, and he has taught me a lot. Every time I have the possibility to speak with this man, just even 10 minutes, I feel like I'm growing up as a human being. So shout out to him, honestly. And if you want to reach out, just ping me on X. It's more than fine. I'm pretty busy, and sometimes I forget that I got DM. just send another one. To be honest, it's like I'm very bad at answering people's DM because I see them, and then work goes on, and because now I'm 42 and I do have memory problem, a couple of years, I'm getting old, I just forget about it, and I go on with my day, the stats, the stuff. So never be afraid to send me another one. Just ping me again until I answer you. You're not in a situation where you're like, oh, maybe he's not answering me because he doesn't want to, and I'm don't take it personally. It's just I am right now because of life. So yeah, if you need to reach out, just send me another one, and I'll answer you, I swear.
Flo, you are a busy man, so the floodgates have probably now opened for people to DM you. Your X account will be linked below, maybe, potentially. And yeah, shouts to Rick, the Hado. The Rickisms we see daily, or whenever he posts on social media, enlightens me every time. And yeah, like you said, if I ever get 10 minutes with him, every time I get 10 minutes with him, like my eyes open, my brain expands, and just he is amazing. He's an amazing guy. and he teaches so much. But yeah, no, Flo, thank you so much for your time. Guys, thank you for listening. If you like this, please like and subscribe, do the usual. Hopefully we get some more people on. Hopefully we get the Rick on. We get the Rick on. But he is also a very busy man.
Hell yes.
I'm busy like yourself, but hopefully he enjoys what he does, and much like yourself, Flo. But yeah, Flo, again, thank you very much for your time. Guys, have a wonderful day. And I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Bye.
Cheers, everyone. Bye.